tell you something, brother. This might be the best OG Kush I've ever had. Ooh. Ooh, yeah. You just said a mouthful, brother. I'm higher than helicopter butt. Listen, though, Hulkster. Young Lurch has been running his mouth on that podcast. Blaze the Bingo Hall podcast needs to show some respect to the veterans, brother. I say we run in there and show Young Lurch and his guest just exactly who the OGs of this game are, What you gonna do, Blaze the Bingo Hall podcast, when the Macho Man and the Hulkster run wild on you? Ooh, yeah. Give me like 10 minutes, though, because I'm really stoned. Oh, yeah.
Welcome in for another episode of Blaze the Bingo Hall. We have a very special episode today. We are joined by Anthony Sanders, otherwise known as One Man Kru. He has a story to tell, and I am willing to give him the platform to share it, maybe put some controversies to rest, and shed some light on what's going around the name Anthony Sanders, otherwise known as One Man Kru. One Man Kru, welcome in. Thank you for joining the Bingo Hall today, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate you, bro.
No problem. So, like I said, we're going to talk about a lot of topics today, including wrestling, cannabis, music, and, like I said, current controversies that are going on. So, like I said, welcome to the Bingo Hall. Don't worry about Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. They might be a little too old to do a run-in on us today. So, and we'll be a little bit too smoked up outside the Bingo Hall as well. But let's start about where you're from originally. Is that Ohio?
Yeah, I was born in Lima, Ohio, and
Okay.
but I've only lived here probably like 5 years out of my entire life, maybe 6. And I lived in a lot of places. Like growing up, I lived in Pensacola, Florida, Memphis, Tennessee, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, St. Mary's, Ohio, and then when my wrestling career started really taking off for me, I lived in Hawaii, Guam, Japan, South Korea. So I've been all over the place. But I finally moved back to Lima a few years ago because my grandma, she's got like Alzheimer's. And I wanted to come back over here anyway for professional reasons.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it family that brought you back to home?
Professional reasons and family. I miss my family like a lot because I hadn't seen none of them in years.
Yeah, that's pretty wild though. The statement you said that you're born there, but you've only lived there for about 5 years. That's pretty crazy. You've had a pretty well-traveled life. Along with living outside the country. Like I myself never even left the country. So that's pretty awesome to be able to see different sites and different points of views that are out there in the world.
It's definitely an eye-opening experience. Like when you look at our country from the outside looking in, you see like the I guess you would say the veil is lifted. You can see
we're in our own little bubble here,
Yeah. Yeah, and you can see through all the bullshit. And then when you come back and you try to talk to people about it, they look at you like you're
like, nah. Yeah, it's I get what you're saying. Like the perspective of how we're viewed as a country from the outside looking in is way different than what we think it is. Only knowing what we know here. So, but that's America, as I'm sure you have a very good perspective on that. But tell me about the One Man Kru name. How did you come up with that? And is there any inspiration that you took from One Man Gang? Or was he maybe like a idol of yours? Or
no, I was never a fan of One Man Gang. I mean, I was aware that One Man Gang existed, but the name One Man Kru actually came from Too Short, the rapper. He always talk about in his raps, all his old rap albums from the 80s and 90s. And I think he probably even still says he recycles a lot of rhymes. And he was like, I'm a one man crew. And I was like, I think that's dope. I think I'm going to call myself One Man Kru.
That's it. That is dope. So the name Crucifer, tell me about that name. Was that a wrestling name, or was that also a name that you performed under as well? as far as music?
Both of them, yeah.
Okay.
I came up with that because when I was a teenager, this kid, well, I had a friend, his name is Robert Vaughn, and I was at his house, and his little brother, he had a Bible in his hand, and he threw it on the ground, and it was like, I worship Crucifer. And I was laughing. I was like, you mean Lucifer, dumbass? and like, I just thought that was so funny. So I was like, Crucifer. I wonder if that's actually a word. So I looked it up. It means bearer of the cross. So I'm like, well, if I call myself Crucifer, sounds kind of nefarious, but it's like a kind of a low key way of saying I'm a Christian or something, So that's why I chose that. And plus, nobody else used that name.
And how long did you use that name before you chose to take the One Man Kru name?
About 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Yeah. When I first started wrestling in 2000, I went by the name Dougie Smooth. But then I, for about a year, I was like, Rikishi, who was going by JR Smooth, or he went by that. I was like, man, he might not appreciate that. So I changed my name to Chris Crucifix.
Chris Crucifix.
Yeah, it's too many Chris's, and my name ain't Chris, and I don't look like a Chris. So I was like, how about Crucifer? Because I remember what that kid said, and it made me laugh every time I thought about it. So I changed my name to Crucifer. And then back in like 2005 or 2006, I believe it was 2006, I was like at a point where like the people I was working with musically, like I felt like I was doing more like of the legwork and the hustling than they were. And I was like, man, I might as well just change my name to One Man Kru. Like, because
you're a one man crew.
Yeah. And I literally am now, man. Like I produce my own music. I edit and direct my own music videos. I mix and master. I write skits. I write lyrics. Like I do graphic design. I do all kind of stuff, man. I literally am a one man crew. That's kind of the gimmick now.
It's like once you start getting into the production and editing things of behind the scenes, it's like it's almost as like a snowball effect of like you start doing one thing, you're like, well, I can maybe cut this guy out or whatever, and once you start doing your own, you're like, hey, I'm handling my own business. I don't need anybody. So it's like when you have that luxury and that freedom to be able to just create your own content and do your own thing and need nobody else to rely on, who can stop you? You know what I mean? Especially if you have a following and people that fuck with you. That's a good thing to have.
Yes, and also, I used to pay people to do stuff for me, and it's not that they didn't do a good job or anything. It's just that I felt that I could articulate my own artistic, creative vision better than anyone else could. And so, like, why am I paying these guys to do all this when I could just do it myself and do it the way I want it?
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating. You're seeing a vision, and then you're, again, like you said, paying them to do it, and then it's not quite coming out the way that you are seeing it in your head or you're envisioning it to happen. So yeah, that's got to be frustrating. But like you said, if you're able to do it yourself, you know what you want, and you know what you're going to get out of the results when you put your work in. So
absolutely.
But that's funny. It's funny how, like you said, that name Crucifer came from that little kid that you mentioned, that something so simple that may seem like just a nothing memory, and then it just becomes like later on, like, oh, now that's my name for a little while. Like that's kind of cool how that comes full circle.
Yeah, every time I thought about that, I laughed. Like, so I'm gonna use that name as a name.
What came first for you though, music or wrestling?
Well, technically, music, because I started rapping when I was a young teen, about 13, 14 years old. And I hadn't recorded anything until like 23 years ago. But I started rapping, and my dad had a 79 Coupe de Ville, and it had a 8-track player in it. And there's this tape, whoever owned the vehicle that he bought it from had this Shaft soundtrack, like the original Shaft from the 70s. And like on there was some pretty cool beats or whatever, pretty cool instrumentals. So I'd play that when my dad wasn't around. I'd start the car, play the 8-track, and just rap to that. And then, but my first passion was music, but I loved wrestling. Whenever I discovered pro wrestling, I was like, man, that looks like a fun job. So when I was a kid, I was like, I did a project for school about like, like what you want to do for your career. And mine was about being a musician. And after I was studying about it, I was like, man, you could be the dopest artist in the world and still not make it. So I think I'm going to do two different things. I'm going to do music and wrestling, and maybe one of them will hit, maybe they won't, but at least I'll look back on my life and be like, well, I gave it my best shot, and maybe I can make some goals and dreams come true. Well, fortunately for me, I've made almost all of my goals and dreams come true, except for like working for WWE and working for like a major record label or something. But
yeah, that's like doing my, like I was telling you before we started recording, like doing my research on you, like it was like, okay, yeah, he's got a serious career. And then it was like, then I started unfolding more and more and more about you. I'm like, man, this guy has done it all, like you said, besides maybe being WWE. Like, and to speak on that, like you are a 25-year veteran of the mat game, and you've trained under the likes of Umaga. You've competed in various promotions, including All Japan, Big Japan, and also trained under Bobby Dahl. So just to put that out there into the ether, let's talk about your time training under Umaga. Was Umaga and Bobby, were they both responsible for training you, or was those at like separate times?
Yeah, they so Bobby Dahl had a wrestling school down in Pensacola, Florida, and Umaga, who I knew as Eki, and he was like the kind of the assistant trainer. Like he was friends with Bobby Dahl. And this is before he was a big name guy, right? I just basically, we all knew him as Rikishi's brother and OG ECMO on Memphis Wrestling. But he was a really nice guy, really funny guy, and I only really spent like a week down there. Like they just gave me like a super duper crash course. Like I learned how to hit the ropes. I learned how to take a bump. We had a few practice matches. I actually got to wrestle Umaga in those practice matches, and he gave me the one drop, and I landed on the back of my head. And then from there, I just started going to like outlaw shows and working what I could, maybe a battle royal at this show, or maybe being somebody's second at this show, and just kind of learning the rest of my training. I got kind of on the job training until I went to Japan and furthered my training. And it was a valuable experience to go down there to Pensacola and train with Bobby and Eki for the time that I did.
But like you said, so after that, you just kind of were trying to find where you could to get in where you fit in, to probably try to get exposure, get your name out there and things like that. Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got you're breaking into business.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say back then, man, it was harder to get in the wrestling business. Like they didn't let marks wrestle like they do today.
A little bit more protected back then. Yeah. That's the thing. Anybody can be a wrestler. Anybody can be a promoter. Anybody can just step foot into the business, and that's why it's like things are a little bit saturated. But I also feel like things are really good right now as far as like the opportunities. You know what I mean? But then that also comes with a lot of, I guess, bad things and shit you got to weed out through to get to the people that are actually in this to be somebody,
Yeah, but it's hard now, actually. I mean, easier to get in the business or whatever, but it's harder on like real pro wrestlers, because like you get all these guys that'll do it for nothing. So it's hard to
they're cutting everybody's throat.
Yes. So it's then when you talk to a promoter and you're like, well, I want $200 or whatever, they're like, you're out of your mind. Well, I mean, I made that much here and there, like, but the thing is that they can just get a bunch of guys that'll do it for nothing.
You're just an able body to them. They're not really trying to invest in you or, allow you to do your thing. It's just like, well, who's going to do it the cheapest? Cause and that's, like you said, there's a lot of, anybody can be in this shit and just, yeah. But in your time in Florida, I know you said you were only there for a week. Did you get to spend any time with Zilla Fatu around at that time, or was he not born? He might not even been born yet, honestly, now I think about it. Like, because he's in his, I think, mid-20s, but you're familiar with him obviously now, right?
Yeah, if he was born, he was just little,
Yeah, like, because he's probably in his mid-20s, I would assume now.
I've hit him up on social media a couple times, just DM him and just let him know, hey, your dad helped train me and a really nice guy, and if you ever need anything, if there's ever anything I can do for you, let me know, type of thing, or I'd like to work with you. Like the first guy I ever was in the ring with was your dad. I think it'd be cool if like the last guy I was in the ring with is you.
That'd be awesome.
Kind of thing.
That would be a full circle moment for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's definitely someone I have my eye on. He's definitely tearing it up on the indie scenes, and I think it's only a matter of time. As long as that's what he wants, that he'll be in WWE before he knows it. I know that Booker T has him under his wing and Reality of Wrestling, and so he's on the right path. But I know that, so I'm just going to go ahead and read off some of these names that you've actually shared the ring with. And just to, like I said, put this out there, because this isn't just on anybody's track record. Some of these names people probably never even got to see live. You know what I mean? So again, Umaga, Brutus Beefcake, Butterbean, Dan Severin, Sabu, The Great Kabuki, Tommy Rich, Bullet Bob Armstrong, Hardcore Holly, Al Snow, Too Cold Scorpio, Tony Atlas, Bull Buchanan, Shane Douglas, Buff Bagwell, Eugene, Rhino, Action Mike Jackson, and that's just some to name a few.
Yeah, the great sauce.
So I left a lot of the Japanese legends off there because I don't really talk about things I'm not too familiar with. So some of the names that I wasn't familiar with, I kind of left them off there just because I didn't want to disrespect them in any type of way by butchering their name or whatever. But if you want to speak on any of those legends, please do.
Well, I don't like dropping names because it makes me look like I'm a mark for myself. But I've worked with Manami Toyota, who's like regarded as one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time. Down in Mexico, I worked with Halloween, Damien 666, and Psychosis, and I tagged with Alberto Del Rio's brother, Mimo Montenegro. He was Mimo Montenegro in NXT, but he goes by El Hijo de Dos Caras, the son of Two Faces, or Two-Face. And it was a good experience riding with him and tagging with him. He's a pretty cool guy. But I've worked with Ricky Fuji, Minoru Fujita, Tomoaki Honma, tagged with Jun Kasai for like 6 months in Freedoms. I've tagged with Abdullah Kobayashi a couple times. I worked with the Baramon brothers, how you pronounce it. Takashi Sasaki, been in the ring with him a few times. Hisakatsu Oya from FMW, Tatsuhito Takaiwa, who he was in like the Super Juniors tournament back in the early 90s, back when like Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero and Owen Hart and all them guys were in those, and Rey Mysterio and all those guys were in the Super Junior tournament. He was in those. I worked with a lot of legit guys, man.
Yeah.
Like I worked for Taka Michinoku, Atsushi Onita, and Genichiro Tenyu, which are like 3 real big name guys in Japan.
Oh yeah.
And it was the greatest experience of my life going over there. My sensei, Fugo Yumeji, he used to work for 01. He taught me a lot, and he's a great guy.
So you would say, like, I guess being able to rub shoulders with those guys and legends that I would want to take a little part from each one of them. Would you say that you were able to do that with them? Like just having a conversation with some of those guys, I'm sure you're able to learn something from them or take something from them to add to your own repertoire.
Most of the conversations I had with those guys was just me making them laugh, like rhyming Japanese words with English words, and like,
okay,
like thought I was hilarious because I would rhyme their like dirty words with English words. Like for example, like kichigai is a really bad word in Japan. You can't say it on TV. It means it means it's like saying the R word over here.
Oh, okay.
I'll be like, kichigai like a bitchy wife or something like that.
Oh, okay. And that probably have them die.
Yeah, and then be like, oh, haha, bitchy wife. Ah. And then they thought it was so funny. It's just an example, you know, the kind of shit that guys.
So, Butterbean, I thought that was a name that popped out to me. And not only have you wrestled him, but you've wrestled him 4 times. Is that correct?
Well, I've been in matches with him 4 times.
Okay. Because I seen one of the things I looked up. It seemed like it was the same day that you wrestled him in the singles, and then maybe something transpired, and it turned out to be a tag team match that same night.
Yeah. Butterbean and I, we've been good friends for about 16 years. We worked together off and on. Like there was a time where we didn't talk for a while, but you know, I was overseas and he was doing his thing. And then when I came back from overseas, that's why I reached back out to him and stuff. And then I went down to box his son last year and he broke my ribs. So because I did that for him, he came up and did this for me to film for my documentary I'm working on.
Nice.
It's called Wrestle Gaiden, which means like the original title was Puro Desu Gaiden, which means pro wrestling side story or pro wrestling spinoff. But I just changed it to Wrestle Gaiden because I want to make my own promotion called Wrestle Gaiden, and the documentary is going to kick the thing off.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk about that for sure. I have a little like way I have things set up that we'll get into your background with the acting and movies and stuff like that. If you want to bring that up, we'll get to that. But I want to just touch on this subject because I just found this out before we started recording. But since he is one of the names that's on that list, Sabu, who recently just had his last match, he actually passed away today.
Yeah.
As we're recording this, but like at some point today is what I had seen. So that's unfortunate. R.I.P. Sabu. I don't know if you got to see his last match that just happened at GCW, Joey Janela Spring Break. I can't get it out of my head. It was insane. But yeah, unfortunately, he's no longer with us. Do you have any stories about Sabu or any interactions you want to talk about?
I do. Yeah, that's actually a really good one. So I was at the gathering of the Juggalos in 2011, wrestling for JCW, their ICP's wrestling promotion. Mm-hmm. And I was in this weapons battle royal, and Sabu is going to come out as a surprise entrant. And I walked up to him beforehand, and he was standing there smoking a cigarette. And I don't really smoke cigarettes or nothing, but I said, "Hey, man, can I bum a smoke off you?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And he gave me one, and I just started shooting the shit with him, like talking about, back injuries and stuff like that. And then I was like, "Hey, look, man, we're gonna be working in the ring together in that weapons battle royal, and I don't want any of these no-name jabronis eliminate me. I'd rather have you eliminate me." And he was like, "All right, brother, cool. I'll take care of you." Well, I think he liked it that I said that to him. Because, man, he come out there, he very lightly kicked me in the gut twice and said, "Out you go," and threw me out. And then he proceeded to grab the chair and concuss every single motherfucker in the ring. Like, blasting them with it. Like, I'm telling you, man, like, he didn't do that to me. He did that to everybody else but me.
He took care of you.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Like he said, "Out you go," and then everybody else got the concussion with the chair.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, he's definitely he's one of the last outlaws, that lived by his own rules, did his own fucking thing. So, God love him, you know what I mean? But, I thought that, obviously he was going to probably try to do something more after this because he just did a interview with Legion of Skanks, which is like a comedy podcast type deal. And he had said on there that obviously he blacked out during that match and they called an audible, and he's just like kind of low key salty is what I was hearing because he didn't get to do what he wanted to do, which he had planned, so, yeah, but that's the artist in you. I'm sure, as you probably know, that it's that fire that burns. It's like I want to do what I want to do, you know. So it's like you can't knock him. But yeah. Again, R.I.P. Sad Bill.
Yeah, he probably wanted, because he knew it was his last match, he wanted to go out with a bang, you know, and do.
He did.
Oh yeah, it was good. It was still whatever he had planned. It's all
I can't imagine. Yeah,
the match was, and I liked it.
Yeah, I can't imagine, like you said, what was possibly planned. You know, like what we got was crazy enough.
Sure.
But so let's jump back to you with Japan. So you spent 6 years wrestling in Japan. Now, when you were over there, is that just a total of 6 years that you spent wrestling there, or did you live there for 6 years as well?
I lived there, and I would go back and forth from Japan to South Korea every few months because I was a freelancer, which means I worked for like several promotions. And when you do that, you can't get like a work visa from one promotion, or you just have to stay in that one promotion. So I had to keep jumping back and forth I had to go to Korea and then fly back.
Because it's so much time that you can only stay in one country, right? Before they get you where you have to have that visa.
Yeah, you can only stay in Japan 90 days with a tourist visa. So I would just go over there every few months to South Korea, stay over there maybe a few days, a week or whatever. Sometimes I stay there a few months. And then I go back to Japan and hustle hard and do shows, and you know, whether it was a hip hop show or some other kind of booking or a wrestling show, like I was really fortunate in Japan. That was the best time of my life.
How was your music perceived over there? Did they really like it over there, or did you not perform much over there? More wrestling?
South Korea does not embrace pro wrestling like Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, they like MMA and boxing and things like that, and baseball, but they don't like pro wrestling. It's a very niche audience for pro wrestling.
Okay.
But I did do some stuff over there.
How was it adjusting to the culture over there?
In South Korea or Japan?
No, in Japan.
Well, when I was a teenager, I used to get tapes from this guy named Sam Farmer. He's a pro wrestler. He goes by the legendary Sam Farmer. But when I first saw his work and knew him, he was a manager because he had some injuries. He went by the name The Producer of Hot Seat Productions in the Ohio and Michigan wrestling scene. And he had a website where he traded tapes, right? So I used to trade my local wrestling that was promoted by Robert Gibson of the Rock and Roll Express, who trained Bobby Dahl, and that's how I met Bobby Dahl, because I used to go to those shows all the time. And I learned a little bit from Robert too, from helping set up wrestling rings and stuff like that. And so anyway, I would get Japanese tapes. I would send him the local wrestling that Robert Gibson promoted, and he would send me tapes from Japan. And I was just in love with it. I was like, man, one day I'm going over there. I'm going to go. My dream, a lot of guys' dream is to be a WWE superstar. My dream was to wrestle in Japan. And I started studying Japanese and Japanese culture at the age of like 16, 17 years old. So by the time I went over there, I was already ready for it. And I loved it. Like, they're very polite. They don't litter.
We're back. We just had a little technical difficulties, but we're back. You said that they're very clean. They don't litter. Very polite.
Yeah, if they do litter, it's because they're drunk and they're not really thinking about it. And but you can leave your suitcase on the sidewalk and they'll just walk right by it, and nobody will steal nothing from you. They're
no nefarious type acts of like wanting to like, yeah.
No, and like even the Yakuza are very nice guys. Like, I've worked at a club and as security that was owned by Yakuza, and they treated me very nice. And whenever I was out on the streets in Shibuya selling my rap CD, they would buy them from me just to support me. They were really nice guys.
That's dope.
And I had conversation with them like, hey man, why does everybody think you guys are so bad? I mean, every time I talk to you or interact with you, you guys are really nice. And they're like, well, we had some kind of bad history, but now we're just businessmen. We just invest in businesses, and we're not really doing like crimes anymore. Is what the guy told me.
Yeah. But you never know, because obviously he probably ain't going to tell you one way or another either way. You know what I mean? Because it's very only just things I've heard. It's very deep rooted over there. But like you said, maybe it's came a long way from what the old narrative used to be of what they were, kind of like how mafia is here, so to say.
Yeah, most of the things they do now is just like pornography and prostitution and clubs and stuff like that. Stuff where it's like, they're not going to get in big trouble for that because it's kind of a decriminalized thing in Japan. And I mean, they might do drugs. I don't know. I can only speculate, but it seemed like all the ones I ever met,
there's always good interactions.
They own restaurants, they own clubs, they were doing legitimate business. You know what I mean? Like, and whether or not they were doing some some shit on the side, I don't know. But from if it is a facade, is very well organized.
Yeah, I know. Like, I've heard stories to like, Rampage Jackson, MMA fighter, who's told stories of like when he's fighting over in Pride in Japan, like he'd see guys on the ringside that are missing fingers and stuff like that, because that's one of the things that if they mess up, you're going to lose a thumb or index finger or pinky or whatever the so-called crime that they see fit that what you're going to lose. So like you don't want to mess up over there.
A lot of those kind of mistakes are those guys going into business for themselves, selling dope, getting in trouble, giving their organization a bad name, that kind of shit.
Yep. It only takes one to ruin it for everybody. But I want to touch on this part right here, since we're talking about Japan and your wrestling career. This is one of the things I found the most interesting, especially for any detractors or haters that might be out there that say that you don't have a wrestling career or you never did anything in the wrestling business. So I'm going to read this for you real quick. You are the only foreign wrestler to hold the distinct honor of competing in over 25 different Japanese promotions.
Yeah,
the only. So let's put that out there. The only one. So not one of 5, 1 of 10, the only one. So it's like anyone that says, hey, this man wasn't a wrestler, he didn't pay his dues, he didn't do shit. Hey, that's a simple Google search and you can find that, So obviously your reputation in Japan is well respected. It's I'm sure they hold you near and dear, especially if you were to come back there. You're probably looked at like a legend amongst them, because I know how the culture in Japan is with wrestling. It's almost like a superhero, you know what I mean? Or, that's, I don't know really much how to describe it. That would you agree with that though? Like you're like a local living legend when wrestlers come around in Japan.
Well, it is like that to some people. I went to Japan last year a couple times with my girlfriend for vacation, and I was supposed to have a match over there, but there was a scheduling error. But I went to a Freedoms show just to watch it and say hi to everybody, because I hadn't seen them in a long time. Like fans wanting selfies. But I'm like, damn, these guys remember me. It was so long ago that I worked for this promotion. Like it had been like 10 years, 11 years since I worked for that promotion. And it was pretty crazy. I was like, wow, I can't believe this person like thinks that highly of me to ask me for a selfie. I'm just here as a fan watching this in my regular clothes. Like I don't look like I look like I do now in the head.
Yeah,
when I worked for them, I had a goatee.
I'm gonna pull up a picture real quick and see if this is you in Japan.
In my wrestling gear. So I did. What say? I'm sorry.
You're lagging a little bit, but I was gonna pull up a picture of you. I think this might be in you in Japan. Is that you in Japan there? That picture?
That I was actually in Thailand there in that picture.
Okay. That's a pretty unique looking belt.
Yeah.
Is that made out of wood? Is what it looks like?
It is made out of wood. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the World Under Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship. I never won that title. They were gonna put it on me, but I hurt my back really bad.
Okay.
So we took the picture
beforehand.
Beforehand. But since I got hurt, like there was a couple instances where they were gonna put belts on me, and they were like, "Well, we don't know if we can rely on him." I still worked through it, but they were just like looking at me like limping all the time. They're like, I don't know if I'm gonna put my belt on this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, I had this picture when we were talking about Butterbean. Let me pop it up real quick. This is you and Butterbean. Was that recent? Was that in January of this year, or is that previous?
It was in March.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. I seen he was out there in Vegas wrestling as well. He had a match against Suzuki.
Yeah. He and I, we were having, he invited me to IHOP with him and his wife, and we were talking about that. And he told me, he was like, he had already told me about it. He's like, don't tell nobody, but I got a match with Minoru. He's like, this Japanese guy, you ever heard of him, Suzuki? I'm like, yeah. I met him
legend.
A few times when I was in Japan. Never worked with him, but I met him. It was on some shows on the same card with him. I was like, man, this guy, this is a pretty big deal. I was like, I don't know if you're familiar with this guy's work, man, but he's like kind of like you, where he started out in like martial arts, like combat sports, and then transitioned to pro wrestling. But he's kind of like a Brock Lesnar or a Ken Shamrock in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh wow, cool. So I said, hey, look, man, when you work with this guy, it's not like over here, man. Like, they hit pretty hard, man. It's pretty stiff. I said, you want to do a little bit of that stuff in our match tonight, so you can get a little acclimated to that style. He's like, yeah, man. Show me some of that stuff. We'll just do a little bit of it. I was like, okay. So I showed him a couple things, and we did our match, and we did like chops and forearms, and I showed him how to do a Fujiwara armbar. He didn't execute it correctly. He didn't go all the way down with it, but I understand why he didn't. But
got his bad hip. He just has hip replaced, right?
Yeah. I don't know. He didn't tell me this, but I imagine he probably has a hard time getting up and down. But
yeah.
But he we went out and did that, and then he called me after his match with Minoru Suzuki. He was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "You know how you told me, really give it to him?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, beat the hell out of this guy, man, because he's gonna give it to you. So it giveth as you receiveth, as Too Cold Scorpio says.
Yeah.
And so he goes, "In there, man," and I was doing what you told me, and he was like, "Not so hard, not so hard."
That's what Suzuki was telling him.
Funny.
That's funny.
Oh,
yeah, I watched that match. It was interesting. It is what it is. Anyone that thought that they were going to go out there and have like a 5-star, burn the house down, then you're insane. But it is what it is. Those guys are towards the later end of their career. Butterbean's kind of on a resurgence almost, because he's getting bookings now when not too long ago he couldn't even get out of a wheelchair. Like, I listened to his story on Chris Van Vliet. I believe he was on, talking about how Diamond Dallas Page helped him, and amongst so many other wrestlers that he's helped. But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing story, and I'm glad he's doing a lot better than being like just stuck in that chair, because that's horrible. Nobody wants to live like that.
I just want to say to anybody ever like talking shit about that match with him and Suzuki, they promoted it as a worked shoot with rounds. It's like it's two MMA fighters working a wrestling.
And Dan Severn was the ref too. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So like, no, these guys aren't going to do a bunch of fucking flips and flop around and all that shit. They're going to like smash each other and put each other in holds and make it look like a fucking fight.
Yeah.
So anybody who's got a problem with that's an idiot.
Yeah, it's always, it's the IWC, so to say. They always got an issue with everything, and no matter what's done, or it's nothing's good enough. So what do you You hate the haters that are out there.
I hate wrestling fans more than I hate Juggalo.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's like sports fans are bad, and then wrestling fans are really bad. I know a little about the Juggalo culture, but I don't know enough to say. But yeah, I know wrestling can get pretty toxic. It's very tribalistic, and I'm sure there's a lot of similarities in that as well. But what are you currently watching of today's product? Do you watch WWE, AEW, any deathmatch wrestling? What are you currently into?
Well, I do watch a little bit of WWE, like just the big shows. Like I might go on YouTube and scroll through like the highlights of what happened on Raw, the build up for this big match, and then I might not even watch. I don't really watch wrestling a whole lot anymore, man. It's just not the same as it was to me. It ain't what I fell in love with back in the day, you know. Like, and I tell these young guys in the ring, like I said, when you go in the ring, man, I said, I know you're emulating what you're seeing on AEW. If you want to get good at this, don't watch AEW because that's not pro wrestling. That's acrobat.
I feel like a lot of times, I call it gymnastics and acrobatics, same thing. A lot of times I feel like today's wrestlers, and this isn't to knock, I'm just making a general statement. This isn't for everybody. But those who know who they are, know. I feel like you watch wrestlers today and they are a cosplayer of the wrestlers from the past. And they are a cosplayer of wrestlers who used to be men and when men were men. And today they just simply aren't. I mean, there are some, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, and I think that also goes back to like we were saying earlier, like how anybody can get into the business, anybody can be a promoter, anybody can just fly by the night, do whatever they want. And then that type of stuff breeds shit, like so.
Yeah, it's always an odd thing to see like a 6-man tag match with Billy Gunn and 5 jabronis.
When Billy Gunn is 60-something years old and looks like a world beater compared to the rest of these guys and is jacked to the tits, and the rest of these guys look like they don't even, work out at all. So it's like, what's really going on here? This man's 60 years old. Like, it's that when you look at that, it's like, but people just look past that. They're like, oh, it's all about the wrestling. It's the best wrestling there. And I'm not trying to knock AEW and be an AEW hater because I'll always say I was an AEW day one supporter. Somewhere along the line, 3 years or so in, they lost me, and it just I don't know what's going on now. I try to watch sometimes; it's hard, but
I loved AEW when it first started.
Same.
But now I can't watch it. I'm just like,
same.
Are you kidding?
It's like they're trying to get better right now, but it's like for every one step forward, they take 2 steps back. Is what it seems like to me. But so
you're exactly right.
Yeah, let's switch it back up. You've also, along with being a music artist, a producer, wrestler, you have dabbled in acting. You've been in numerous different movies, you've acted in 3 different movies. I don't even want to know I don't know if I want to butcher the names of these. Do you know how to pronounce the names better than me? Probably.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll let you take the names.
Well, the acting stuff I did was just like really small, like bit parts and cameos and for work. I worked in a movie called Yoren Utawa Ichijin no Kaze ni, which means Song in the Wind Gust.
Yes, I have that written down, but there was no way I was attempting to say
that. It's an anthology horror film where it's got like several stories in it. And in one of those stories, I play me and my sensei both, he got me that booking. And I play one of the producers of this play that this director, he's seeing ghosts, right? The director of the play, right? And he's seeing ghosts, and they're like, we're looking at him like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? And that's basically it. And they cut most of my shit out. Like every time I do one of those, they end up cutting most of my stuff that I do out. And then from there, I did an episode of Hawaii 5-0, and they cut my stuff out of that. You only see me like for like 2 seconds in that. barely. And then I did a movie for Ron Yuan called Unspoken Diary of an Assassin, where I did kind of double duty. I played like a background extra in that, and then I played a stunt player. Like I had a fight scene with Ron.
Oh, okay.
And I grabbed him from behind. Like I had a suit on, and I like looked like a big like one of them big jacked up club security guys or something. I had long bleach blonde hair at the time, and I grabbed him from behind like this, and then he stabbed me in the leg, and I went, oh, like that. And then he like kicked me and then shot me. So I had to do that like 20, 30 times because they're, getting different angles of it, and they want to get the best takes of it. Am I lagging?
Just a little bit, but I can hear you fine.
So they wanted to get the best takes, so they're doing this 20, 30 times. Well, before they asked me to do that, they were like, hey, man, you sure you don't want to wear pads? I'm like, man, I'm a pro wrestler. I got this. I know how to fall down. Dude, by that, I didn't know. I thought we were going to do like 3, 4, or 5 takes.
After 20 of them, you're like, ooh.
Yeah, afterwards, like I was shaking everybody's hand. All right, yeah, good work, guys. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Dude, as soon as I walked out of that club, we shot it in a club in Hawaii. As soon as I walked out of there, man, I was limping like a motherfucker. I was like, oh, God, I don't know how I'm going to get out of bed in the morning. I laid in bed
that's
for
rough.
Like that.
I think I heard that recently from, I believe it was a wrestler that does stunt work, and the same kind of thing. That's like, you think, okay, well, I can take some pain, I can take some beating, but like you said, then you have to do it 20 times or so many times. It's like that shit hurts doing it repetitively. You know what I mean? So yeah, like that definitely can take some wear and tear on your body. I know you said that. Good.
I was just say the last movie I did was I did it in like 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I went. It's called Off Ramp Juggalo Road was the working title of it, directed by Nathan Tate. And I had sent an audition video in for a part in the movie, and because I had produced music for ICP and I put that as part of my resume or whatever, he contacted me and he was like, hey man, you produce music for ICP? I was like, yeah. He said, I was like, yeah, I'm actually interested in, submitting songs for the soundtrack or producing some of the soundtrack. And he was interested. I sent him some beats. He picked like 5 or 6 of them. And then part of the deal was I was like, hey man, I'm trying to get my SAG after card.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me like a little small bit part, like with a line in it? He's like, yeah, I'll do that for you. So signed the contracts, everything, gave him the music. I have a rough cut of the film with my music in it, with my line in the movie. He showed me all kind of love, man. Like he put like a poster of me on the bedroom wall of a character of one of the main characters' bedroom, like a wrestling poster of me.
Oh, really?
That the art guy. Yeah, they took a picture of me when I was wrestling in Mexico, and they blew it up and made a poster out of it. They had one of the bad guys wearing one of my T-shirts from Pro Wrestling Tees, and that's very prominent throughout the movie. Like that same character always wears that shirt, and then I got to be in the last scene in the movie. Well, since I dissed Violent J in this album, The Astronomic Dr. Crime, when I made my own Joker card just to piss him off and commissioned all the guys that used to be on his label, I sent that to Nathan Tate, like, hey, this is the song, like the beats that I licensed to you. These are the songs that, that those beats are for. So I'd like you to put the titles of the song in the credits so that, people will listen to the actual song, right? Well, I guess when he listened to the album and heard me diss Violent J, he like tried to cut me out of the movie as much as he could. Like he cut my line out of the movie, he cut my music out of the movie. He tried to cut me out as much as he could, but he couldn't cut me out completely. I'm still in it, but I just thought it was whack that he didn't tell me about it. And he just did that, and it was like, I went on thinking everything was all good, promoting the movie everywhere I went, really talking it up, putting him over. And then he did some snake ass shit like that without even telling me about it. I thought that was kind of low down, but I understand why he did it.
And I guess you probably hadn't had much communication with him since he did that. Probably just nothing, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've reached out to him, but it's all, man. Make my own movie.
Yeah. All right. Can you hear me good, Anthony? You were lagging just a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard the last thing I said.
You said you're going to make your own movie, right? What was it? What are you going to call it?
Juggalo Justice, where I go around beating down juggalos.
Yes, I have that written down as well. I was going to bring that up. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes. So you have collaborated with several artists, big name artists like Snoop Dogg, Too Short, D12, Gucci Mane, Lil White, Lil Wayne, Juicy J, Project Pat, just to name some.
Yeah.
In that mix of people, is that just were you producing beats with them or using them as features on your music, or is it just a mix of both of those, that combination?
The only major artist I actually produced music for was Insane Clown Posse.
Okay.
But I like features, like non-exclusive features from the real big name artists, and then like some of the big name artists I actually got exclusive features from. But it's all legal and it's all legit. Otherwise it wouldn't be on Spotify and all that stuff.
Oh, of course, they would have came for you immediately as soon as you drop something saying that this is their name on there. Yeah, like that stuff doesn't fly, especially in music. But you've also worked with every artist from the family era of Psychopathic Records, and that would include, of course, ICP, Twisted, Blazy Dead Homie, Esham, ABK, Boondocks, Axe Murder Boys, etc. So you have worked hand in hand with those guys?
Well, I've met most of those guys, but most of that is just like nowadays with music, it's all done through the internet. You email or call. You can call somebody that works for them. Like I know this guy named Intrinsic. He hosts these mixtapes called UGH, Underground Hustling, and I did a song with Esham back in 2010, and I had submitted it to one of his mixtapes, and that's how I started doing business with him. And then I had commissioned him to make some artwork for a DVD for me. And then over the years, I've hit him up about certain things, asking him questions, trying to figure out, what's the right opportunity to work with him. Like there was some things he was doing where he's facilitating certain projects, and I inquired about them, but I never really, joined in on it. But I did know though that he worked for Magic Ninja Entertainment, which is like where all the guys that left Psychopathic Records went. They created
that's like Twisted and all them, that right?
Twisted, Blaze, ABK, Docs, the ROC, Axe Murder Boys, like pretty much everybody from Psychopathic that during that family era, they're all on MNE now. So I hit up Intrinsic. It was like, hey man, I'm making this project. I want to get like all the former Psychopathic guys on this. Like I didn't say why I wanted to do it. I just told him I wanted to do it. To him, I'm just like some Mark wannabe artist like that wants to collaborate with these guys, right? Probably is how he perceived it.
Mm-hmm.
But like he didn't understand that I had nefarious designs to piss off Violent J by working by making my own Joker card album with the lore and everything.
Yeah,
and put guys on it to legitimize it.
So do you get backlash from something like that where they don't know that that's what they were, I guess, going to be a part of, or?
I've never heard any backlash from it at all.
I guess they don't, as long as they get their money, right?
Yeah, I mean, I paid them for their work. I did, as far as the actual songs and stuff, like I did what I said we were gonna do. But the album, the album artwork and the lore behind it, they didn't know nothing about that. So
okay.
I mean, what can they do?
And you're someone who has made over hundreds of thousands of dollars as an independent artist just off of your beats and your music alone, right? And that's not including what you've done just in wrestling and acting and anything else that you've entrepreneured.
Yes, very true. Yes. I've since like 2008, 2007, I started going out and selling, like soliciting and selling my albums on the street. And I did that everywhere. I went to California and did it. I went all over the Southeast United States and did it. I went to Japan and did it, South Korea and did it, Guam, Hawaii. I've been all over doing that. So over time, like I sold like over 20,000 copies just by myself. So when you sell them for $10, $20 a piece, like that adds up to like $200,000, $300,000 in the ballpark range of that. So I don't know exactly how much it was, but I know it was at least 200,000 at least.
Yeah, that's just you personally that you were out there peddling that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's wild just on its own. And I'm a firm believer that word of mouth is the best form of promotion and getting things out there that you're trying to, your music or whatever you're trying to promote. So word of mouth is definitely the best. So,
oh yeah.
So
one thing that hurt me though.
You're good.
Sorry, I was gonna say. One thing that hurt me though is like I was building up like a fan base, and when I was in Korea, I was doing this in Japan. I was doing like this racist gimmick, you know what I mean? And so like in Japan and South Korea, there's really no racism, right? So some foreigner comes over there saying all kind of crazy racist stuff. They think it's entertaining. They think it's amusing.
Mm-hmm.
When people over here see a video of that, you know how we got that kind of bullshit going on over here.
Yeah.
They feel some type of way about it when it's just, I'm just getting cheap heat over there and they love it.
Just pure entertainment to them over there.
Yeah. Yeah. So like now I had people like, I'm never supporting you again. I can't believe I was a fan of yours, all this stuff, man. It was crazy. I
really?
Lost a lot of supporters over that. Like one match in particular, it was like one of the best performances of my career. It was against a guy named Jin Gae Song for the pro wrestling. I think it was Fit. I think it was the name of the promotion. Pro wrestling. No. PLA. Professional live action. I think PLA Incheon Championship against Jin Gae Song. Best performance of my career. It was like the most legendary thing ever. Like if people actually knew about it and seen it, they'd be like, holy shit, this guy's out of his mind saying this shit. Like I'm telling you, dude, it was funny. It was really funny. And if you can put that aside, the shock value what I'm saying. I can't see you right now, so I don't know what's going on. Maybe my internet.
All right, let me. All right, we're back. We're good.
If you, as I was saying, like with that match again, Jin Gae Song, if you can put aside that I'm saying the things I'm saying and just look at it as like Shakespeare, as entertainment, as a performance, it's actually gold. It's like comedy gold. It's crazy.
What year was that from that took place? Are we able to find it out there on YouTube?
I don't know why, but I can't see you anymore.
You can't see me?
I got my Wi-Fi going.
All right, we're back, everyone. Just little short technical difficulties, but we are with you guys. What I was asking is that match or is that on YouTube if we were able to look it up?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. And if you can put aside the shock value of what it is and understand that it's just a performance, it's no different than Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino, which is, in fact, what I based the performance off of. And you'll be quite entertained by it if you can just be like, oh, well, this guy, he's just playing a character. You know, like if you understand that, then you can be amused by it. But if you're going in there like
already hate it,
yeah, like of course you're gonna feel some type of way.
I think that's the type of people that look at it that way are almost, they might be wrestling fans, but it's like, really, are you though? Because you got to understand that there's a job that each one of these guys are doing, and if he's getting you riled up and getting under your skin and getting you mad, then he's executing his job to a T, and you're giving him the reaction that he wants. If you no sold it, then it would just go away and you wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. That's what people don't realize. It's like, if you don't like it, don't fucking give it any attention. But hey, there's got to be some sort of
the reason I had to do that, though, the reason I started doing that gimmick, especially in South Korea, is because I was a heel, but they were cheering me as a babyface. Like, they wanted me to be a babyface, right? Because the guy who's running that, his name's Hyena, he really didn't know what he was doing. I had this really super hot Korean model. Her name's Renee Lee. All right, she's a good friend of mine at the time. Had a falling out with her, but I had her as my valet to get the heel heat. Like, oh, here's this big white dude banging one of our hottest chicks, right? Well, then he's like, I'm gonna grab her by the hair, like I'm gonna hit her. And I'm like, dude, if you do that, you're gonna turn me babyface. It's not gonna work. I'm supposed to be the heel. If you put your hands on her and then I beat your ass for it, it's gonna turn me baby.
Yep.
And he didn't listen to me, and he did it anyway. And I said, if that's what you want, I said, look, dude, I'm coming in here. I'm a new face. I'm heel. Like, I should go over, like, by using heel tactics, like by cheating. Like, maybe she helps me win by, like, throwing me a weapon and I hit you with it, something. Like, that's how you do business when you're introducing a new guy, right? So he wanted to beat me so bad, and then he wanted to do what he wanted to do. So I just went along with it. I was like, all right, man, fine, whatever. I'm getting paid. It don't matter. So I did what he wanted, and just like I said, they turned on him and cheered for me. So by the time I'm wrestling their babyface champion, they're cheering for me and not the other guy. So I'm like, man, I really got to turn this shit around somehow. So I just went full blown cheap heat racist, like I was saying the most fucked up shit you could possibly say to a person in the ring, like to the referee, to the audience, to the guy I was working with, and they loved it. They loved it. They it did not work.
Yeah.
Like, they finally booed me after I basically injured the guy and put him out of the business, which is a work, but I guess there was a little bit of truth to it. Like, he got a concussion or something. Actually, one of the thing about that match is that guy Hyena, the promoter, who's also a wrestler, worker, whatever. I wouldn't call him a worker. I call him a whatever. But he was like, "What's the finish?" I said, "It's a lariat." He was like, "Lariat? That's a weak finish." I said, "No, it's not, dude." I said, "Have you ever seen Japanese wrestling? Stan the Lariat Hansen?
Stan Hansen, yeah.
Clothesline from hell. Have you ever
knock your head off? JBL, yeah.
I was like, he's like, okay, I guess if you want to use that as a finish, he said, but make it look really good. I said, dude, if I make it look any more good than I'm gonna make it look, then I'm probably gonna hurt this guy.
Yeah.
He said, just make it look good. Whatever you do, make it look good.
Is that because the lariats over there are probably more prominent? Like, as far as like something that's used here, like say like a super kick's used all the time here, clotheslines are used all the time over there. That's probably why he was like, why? Yeah.
Yeah. Lariat is a big strong finishing move in Japan, right? It's like, well, think about it. You're hitting a motherfucker as hard as you can in the throat, is what it's supposed to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
The neck with your arm and knocking them down, right? So I was like, all right, man, like I'll make it look good, right? I'll make it look extra good, like he said. He'll make it look extra good. That's what he said. He put an emphasis on extra good. Make it look extra good. I said, okay. So we get to the finish, dude, and I'm telling you, I blasted this motherfucker as hard as I could, and I hit him so hard that he flipped around and kicked me in the back of the head and gave me a...
Damn.
It was like a double concussion lariat. Like I hit him so hard that he got a concussion, and he kicked me in the back of the... He folded over, kicked me in the back of the head, and gave me a concussion.
What did Hyena have to say for you after that?
He said it looked good. You didn't have to hurt him though. I was like, well, you told me make it look extra good, motherfucker. So
yeah. You can only get what you ask for there.
Yeah. If you'd have just let me do what I do, everything would have been all good.
But let's One Man Kru. Let's switch over to a little bit more of the controversies that might be surrounding you right now. As we discussed at the beginning of this, we're gonna talk about your story and who you are, and also there is a lot of, like I said, controversy that's surrounding you and your name. A lot of it's not coming from the wrestling side, even though some people are coming for you on that side of it as well. But most of it seems to be from the music industry. Also, I've seen from my research that some might call this clown drama. I don't know if that's a insider term within the maybe Juggalo community. I guess clown drama is something that might be, I don't know, but yeah, let's get into it. You recently released a music video that was a diss track that was intended for Violent J from Insane Clown Posse. It was titled Violent J is a Bitch. So what prompted you to release that? I'll let you have the floor. And it's only been out for about 2 weeks now as well.
Yeah. So like I mentioned earlier, I made that, my group and I, Keepers of the Crib, that I got my start with. I still work with Drunk Zambini, is the guy that I rap with in that video. I became a solo artist in 2006, but I still did another Keepers of the Crib album with him in 2007. But then I focused on my solo career, my wrestling career, and then we reformed Keepers of the Crypt. We tried to in 2017, and the couple songs we did together, we ended up being on my second solo studio album that came out in 2019. But so we did that Keepers of the Crypt Joker card album. We call it the Smoker card. It's a parody, so I don't get sued. And then I dropped my new solo album, my third full-length solo studio album, Overthrown Underground. And I dissed Violent J harder than anybody ever even thought of doing. Like, I'm saying, like, it was a conceptual album where it's like there's like 14 skits telling a story about me burying him alive and like calling him up while he's in the casket and talking shit to him and breaking into his girlfriend's house and forcing her to blow me at gunpoint and like all this crazy shit, all these crazy antics, and then dissing him in the record. Well, that, even though it got over 100,000 streams on Spotify in the first week, it flew completely under the Juggalo radar. Because if they'd have known the shit that I'm saying in that album, they'd have lost their fucking minds over that. I don't know why they're tripping so hard over this video. This video is child's play compared to what I did on that album, dude. But to answer your question,
go ahead.
So I'm working on producing Drunk Zambini's first ever full-length solo studio album. And he said, hey man, I want to diss Violent J. I said, dude, I'm done dissing Violent J. I already got it out of my system. I said all there is to say on my new album. He's like, well, dude, I see how like you're getting all these streams on your album. I said, dude, it's not because I'm dissing Violent J. It's because I got all these features on it. It's attracting new listeners. And but he was so adamant about it. I was like, all right, man, fine, well, fuck it, we'll do it. So we made this song, Violent J is a Bitch. I had this beat that I had made for Violent J for a remix of one of a song he did on one of his solo EPs called Wizard of the Hood. The beat is a modern trap remake of the original Wizard of the Ghetto on ICP's Carnival of Carnage album. And the beat was never really fully completed. I just sent him like the basic like drum and bass with the little xylophone in it. He thought it was dope. And he wanted it, but we didn't get far enough into that project, that remix album project. for me to give him the session. So by the time we had the falling out, I still had the beat without him having the session. So I said, hey man, how about this beat? So we made the song to that beat, and he was like, don't you think it'd be dope to have a music video to this? I was like, yeah, I think it would be pretty cool. He said, dude, I'm telling you, we're gonna get so much hate for this shit. I said, I know, man, but fuck it, let's do it. So we shot the video, I directed it and edited it, and we released it last Monday. And man, the hate storm has been unreal, like across all platforms, man. With between the promo clips, the video itself, and all the other posts I've been to promote it, I've had over 200,000 views on my Facebook alone. And
you said you've also been receiving death threats as well.
Threats of violence, death threats, people telling me, come to the gathering, motherfucker, and all this shit. Come to a show, do this, do that. Like, I'll box. This one guy was like, I'll set up a ring outside the gathering and we'll box. But, yeah, it's just been ridiculous, man.
Yeah, so it's definitely created. Good.
Yeah,
I was just saying it's created an uproar.
Yeah, it's been wild.
You said somebody called you or
somebody called me 5 times, but I didn't answer because I thought it was a spam call. Then they called my mom. The same person called my mom 6 times and left a very cryptic voicemail.
Come on.
I swear to God, man, it's been retarded, bro. And like that.
Yeah, that's not like. Yeah, when families get involved, I guess that's not cool at all. I know that you mentioned in that video though that juggalos are treated like an ATM, and then juggalos are also treated like marks.
Yeah.
Were you a juggalo, or are you a juggalo? Or
I was when I was younger.
Okay.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, but this whole experience has opened my eyes to what it really is. Like working for Violent J and knowing what a major league asshole he is in real life, and just after that experience, I could see it with a fresh pair of eyes from the outside looking in, and I'm like, golly, these people are clueless. They have no idea what kind of person this guy is. And they just like mindlessly worship him like he's some kind of deity, and he's just a regular guy that's a piece of shit that just happens to put clown paint on and rap and throw.
And that's where I sort of like, growing up around the wrestling business and knowing what I know of the Juggalo community, I see some similarities as far as that goes, as far as like being loyal to a fault almost sometimes, to like, because say you can put like Violent J as like the Vince McMahon of the Juggalo community, right? And say, a lot of people are very loyal to Vince McMahon, and they think because he is the end all be all as far as the creator, done everything for them, that they kind of hold him they kind of look past a lot of things. Yeah. I'm not saying that might be the case, but I just see that there's a lot of similarities in that type of like mindset as far as fans that don't really know these people, like a Vince McMahon or a Violent J, but they think they do because they are followers of their work and what they put out there as far as content and stuff like that.
Yeah, they think they know him because they paid ridiculous amount of money for meet and greets and shit like that, and they've met them through meet and greets, stuff like that. And they know their work and all that stuff, and they've seen their live streams and all that, and because of that, they have this sense of like that they know that person, but they don't know who that person is in real life at all. And it's exactly very much like you described. They hold that person, they put them up on a pedestal, and they let it slide, like any kind of iniquities that he has, any kind of wrongdoings. It's not like when I explained what happened to me with ICP, how I got screwed over, how I got disrespected. It's not, hey, homie, sorry that happened to you, that's whack. It's, oh, ha ha ha, you got fucking played, you got finessed. Like, you know, it's like, all right, well, I guess you're a piece of shit too, then fuck you. Like,
yeah, I mean, if it happened to you, I'm sure it's probably happened to a lot of others that
oh,
probably goes the same way.
Yeah, so when I went public about that shit, a lot of people reached out to me about their bad experiences with him. And that's what really lifted the veil. And I was like, wow, this guy is really a piece of shit. And back in 2002, I was on a show with Glacier from WCW. And
used to be one of my favorites as a kid.
Yeah, and I was backstage with him, and I said, hey man, what was it like working with ICP? And he goes, well, the skinny one, he's cool, but the fat one, he just thinks his shit don't stink. So he's kind of warning me then, like, hey man, steer clear of this guy because he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah. So you also mentioned that you were at a house party where you seen Violent. I don't know if you've seen, but you were at a house party where Violent J supposedly OD'd at. Is that correct?
No, that's not true. The play on an ICP lyric.
Okay, that was just a lyric then.
Yeah, so like the original Wizard of the Ghetto, the first 8 bars of my verse in that song is a play on the first 8 bars of his song Wizard of the Ghetto. He's like, oh shit, should have seen me. I was flipped at the party drinking with that MD. On boy's bed, 7 cans of brew going through my head, something like that. Dreaming, I was sipping on Fago at the house, and here comes a tornado. I can't trying to run, but I can't go nowhere because the whole damn house is spinning through the air. Like, I believe that was the first 8 bars of that song. I might have flubbed a couple little syllables but
there's another bar that I put in here as well. Is it says Violent J stated he would beat your ass. And you showed up to his hood and he took a hard pass, quote unquote.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's true. So I reached out to him about a year after he and I had a falling out. I was cool for about a year. Like, I went to a JCW show and I kind of like went to confront him or meet him or whatever. He wouldn't even look me in the eye. And then about a year after we stopped doing business or whatever, if you want to call it that, because I never got paid or proper credit for any of the things I did for them, I discovered on the metadata of the song that I produced on ICP's Yum Yum's Lure EP, which debuted #1 on iTunes rap albums chart. It's the first song on the album, on the EP. I produced that. I made the beat for that. So where it says produced by in the metadata, it says blank. It says nobody, right? And that's on every song. And I had a problem with that. I was like, look, man, I said, I understand, like, if you don't want to pay me for this, if you don't want me to get any royalties for this, but I at least need credit for this. So if this thing ever goes gold or whatever, I can get a plaque for it. And I reached out several times. I sent several emails, and I no response. So finally I was like, all right, fuck it. I know what'll get this cocksucker's attention. So I typed the email, and the header was, I'll give you oxycodone. That got his attention. And he emailed me back. He was like, suck my dick, you fucking retarded monkey. Please introduce yourself to me so I can beat the fuck out of your bitch ass. You make me sick. So I replied, and I was like, all right, man, how about this? You think you can whip my ass? I'm going to be in Detroit because I got to pick up Tony Atlas from the airport. Then we got a show. We're going to wrestle each other in Battle Creek on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I got to take him to the airport again. So I'll be in Detroit on Sunday. I'll meet you on the corner of 10 Mile and Power Road, which is like right around the corner from one of his properties. Whether he still owns it or not, I don't know. But
he knows where it's at.
Yeah, he knows exactly where it's at. And I said, I'll meet you at this time, this date, this place. I won't have nobody with me. I won't have no weapons on me. It'll just be me. And if you think you can beat my ass, motherfucker, show up and prove it. And I filmed it, and I put it on YouTube because he never showed up. And in fact, somebody in a white Cadillac Escalade, which he's known to have one of those at least at some point, sped by me. So I thought maybe it was him seeing if I was really out there. I don't know if it was really him. Kind of looked like him, but I don't. I don't know if it really was or not, but sped right by, didn't stop, didn't do nothing. And then I was getting cold because I had shorts on, so I just left after about 20 or 30 minutes because he didn't show up. So I was like, well, fuck it, I'm done. So I put that on YouTube, and man, like it started to catch fire real quick. It got like 10,000 views in like 2 days. And I was getting swarmed with hate by the Juggalos on that shit. And then everybody's looking at it at face value, like, who's this fucking nutcase wanting to fight Violent J on the corner of a street in Detroit?
I think it's easy sometimes when someone like a Violent J has a following like he does, and then say let's call you like a whistleblower, I guess, so to say. It's easy for them to pile on to one, and the majority is on this side, and it's like you just seem like you're just fighting. It's like David versus Goliath of like you said, like, who is this guy trying to fight Violent J? And then everyone's just like on Violent J's side instantly. He's trying to fight, that's our guy. And that's, they're ride or die. And I understand that. But sometimes you gotta listen to what else is out there, because there's always, in my opinion, I say there's three sides to the story, your side, his side, the truth. So, there's got to be some validity to what you're saying as far as these, allegations, accusations, and then people are just like, oh, this guy's just coming out to fight him. Like, I don't think that's the case. Like, you're not just out there just trying to fight anybody for any reason.
No, I don't like fighting anyway. But this guy had pissed me off so bad at that point, I was ready to beat his ass.
Yeah. And it seems like you've had a lot of mixed reactions from the community. Would you say that your beef is obviously it's with Violent J, but would you say it's with Violent J and the Juggalos, or do you think the Juggalos are just kind of getting tied into it because of loyalty by fault almost?
That's it. Yeah. My beef is with one person and one person only. That's Joe Bruce, the person. Okay. And the Juggalos, I call them the 17%er, like the nut riding motherfuckers. I don't like them because they're, they're just like mindless fucking do-bots, like genetically modified goblins that fucking.
They're like you said they're the hardcore ones. Okay.
Yeah, they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about when they talk shit to me. They have no idea. They have no clue who I am, what I've done. They just see shit at face value and talk shit. They have no clue what the fuck they're
just choosing the side right off. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the cool Juggalos. Like, most of them are like the old school ones that they think what ICP is doing now is kind of whack, and they don't like how the Juggalo scene had became.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are riding with me now. They're like, man, I actually like your shit, man. Your shit's, I hate to say it, man, but your shit's actually doper than ICP's. Like, I've been told that by some Juggalos. Like, yeah,
they probably wouldn't think that initially until they, actually take it, like you said, at face value for what it is, and they're like, hey, man, I kind of rock with you. But like, to touch on, like you said, so you're cool with the skinny one. The skinny one would be Shaggy Two Dope. So there's no issues with you and Shaggy at all?
No, okay. I have nothing but respect for that guy. He's a nice guy. He's pretty cool. Like, I've watched some of his live streams, and I've like super chatted him, like wrestling related questions, and he always acknowledged me and answer me and stuff like that. There's some douchebag going in there pretending to be me, saying all this kind of whacked out shit, like I'm gonna shoot up the gathering or I'm gonna kill Violent J and stuff like that. That's not me. That's some asshole pretending to be me on there to stir up shit.
Yeah, that's not cool.
If it weren't for somebody asking me about that one night, they were like, hey man, why are you in there saying all this crazy shit? I'm like, I'm not.
You never know.
And this motherfucker had my same avatar, my same name, and me and him are talking shit back and forth, and it looks like I'm talking to myself. It was bizarre, man.
That's you can group that into the weirdos out there that go and do shit like that. It's like, who has time for that? And then it's just like, you're just adding more fuel to the fire. It's like, if someone didn't ask you, you probably would never even known that this guy's out here, being an imposter, you trying to stir up more shit within your own beef that you're already responsible for, handling. So but when you were first, I guess, contacted, well, I don't know if it's when you first were contacted, but when you were, I guess, commissioned to make these beats for them, you had made like 40 beats, but at the time you weren't even in the States. You were living in Guam. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Violent J wanted you to come over here. He needed you here in the States. You made about 40 beats for him, and he only chose 3. And then he never gave you the credit or paid you for those.
No. Well, He used one on a Patreon stream, and he did show me love on that, but he misspelled the way I spell my name. And
so
I didn't know
he Is it so he didn't have to give you credit or pay you?
I think they just wanted to change the way I spell my name for the future reference. I worked with them, and I didn't like that, but I didn't say nothing about it. But yeah, he did show me love on that. But then, like I said, when he put that beat out on Yum Yum's Lure, I never got credit for that. And then I had one more beat that he used on Yum Yum Bedlam, their fifth Joker card in the second deck. But he took that off because when I came over here, because when I first got the deal producing for them, he said, "I'll give you 500. We'll give you $500 a beat, but the first 4 beats will be free." I was like, "All right, fine, whatever." Because I told him, I said, "Hey man, I got some beats, man. You can just have them." So I sent them to him, and they listened to them and they liked them. They're like, "Hey man, look, your beats are dope, but it's not really our style. Can you like craft like some like custom made stuff that's more tailored specifically to our sound?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure, man, no problem." So the first 2 I made for them, they used those 2 because this was like late in the process of recording Yum Yum Bedlam, and they delayed the albums, and then they put out that EP Yum Yum's Lure just to satiate the Juggalos' desire for more music from them.
Mm-hmm.
And he used one of the tracks as the intro on that EP, which was, if they would have put out Yum Yum Bedlam when they were supposed to, those 2 beats would have been on that album. But anyway, so when they first gave me the deal, I said, "Hey man, these are 2 things I'd like to do. These are my goals. I'd like to have you guys featured on one of my tracks, and I'd like to have a run as the JCW champion someday." And he was like, "Well, I can't guarantee you anything like that right now. Like, you have to, get to know us. That all that stuff comes with friendship." He said, "But yeah, get your ass back over here, man. Like, when you hang around us and we get to know you more, there'll be a lot of opportunities for you." So basically, he just let me know, "Hey, if you want to really work with us like that, come back over here." Yeah. So by the time I did, I told him, I said, "All right, man, well, it will take me a while because I got to consolidate my assets and stuff like that." And it did take me a while. It took me about a year, almost a year. And I finally went over there. And there was one point that summer, I started working with him in like October of 2020. And then that summer of 2021, there was a beat I sent him that he really liked. And he wanted me to change something in the verses. And he said, "I want it to go boom, boom, boom." But he was typing it in an email. And I'm like, boom, boom, boom. That can mean like 5 or 6 different things when you're sequencing 808, bass notes, right? It could be the first 3 notes. It could be the first, the third, and the fifth note. It could be a triplet sliced over 4 notes. It could be a triplet sliced over 8 notes. I mean, it can mean so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to fix it the way he wanted it, and he was like, "No, man, I told you I wanted to go boom, boom, boom." So I tried to fix it again. He was like, "Never mind, man." I was like, "Well, look, man, it's gonna drive me nuts until I get this right." And he was just like, "Yeah, just never mind, man. Thanks for trying." So I was like, "All right, well, maybe he just didn't want that beat, whatever." So I kept sending him beats, and I let him know, "Hey, man, I'm coming to Detroit." This is right before the gathering of the Juggalos. I said, "I'm not gonna like be able to make it in time for the gathering or anything, but I'll be there right after the gathering." So I get there and I texted him. I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm here." I texted him. I tried calling him. I emailed him, and then finally I hit him up on Cameo and sent him a message like, "Hey man, I'm in Detroit, man. I'm ready to work. Like, if you ever need anything." He's like, "Work? What work? We ain't hiring, bro." I'm like, "What do you?" And he's, and I was like, "Look, man," I said, "you're making money off of my shit. The least you could do is like not treat me like a fucking jabroni." And that fucking set him off, man. That like really pissed him off. So he like went on this rant talking all this shit. So I just ignored it. A couple days later, I typed like a resignation email thanking him for the opportunity and that, maybe one day we can work together again. And then I like I said, I went to the JCW show to thank him for the opportunity, kind of, just kind of man to man. He wouldn't even look me in the eye. And then, like I said, like about a year after all that, like I found out that I never got credit for what I did produce for them. So that what set off the chain of events that led to what's going on today. Where I'm like,
you said that was about $20,000 worth of your work, right?
Yeah, if you like $500 a beat was the deal after the first 4, and I produced like somewhere between 40 and 50 beats for him. So like 40 beats is 20 grand.
Yeah, that's not chump change when you're, like I said, that's your time, labor, and effort into that music. And if you're not getting paid for it and not getting credit for it at all, like that's not good.
And the thing is about it is like, it's not even about the money. Like that's not what drove me to like diss this motherfucker. It was the disrespect. It was the way he fucking disrespected me.
Yeah.
I don't tolerate shit.
That's same. I mean, anyone out there that tolerates disrespect, I mean, I don't know if you're really a man, because it's like, it's a hard thing, and if you feel disrespected, like you said, it might not have been about the money, but it's the principle of it, so to say. And I know you had also, you said you had hired a bunch of, I guess, Juggalo Championship Wrestling wrestlers and booked them as talent for you to book yourself to win, and then you filmed it as a documentary that you plan to put out. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Corporal Robinson, he's like a Midwest deathmatch wrestler. He worked for ICP for years as like a bodyguard and their wrestling champion. And like at one point, he was their champion. And like at Bloody Mania 1, he wrestled Scott Hall, who at that time was the WWC Universal Champion, which is like Puerto Rico's version of the world title.
Mm-hmm.
And that belt traces back all the way to when like Carlos Colon beat Ric Flair for the NWA world title.
Wow.
NWA never recognized it, but he beat him twice for the world title in 1983, and they just never recognized the title change. So me and Corporal Robinson put our heads together. We're like, hey, man, I told him what happened. And he was like, I said, you never lost that title. You got injured and had to vacate it. Then you went back and then you got fired. Why don't we do a match for we'll call it the Lineal World Championship, or we'll get like a copy of the JCW belt, and I'll beat you for it. And then I'll claim that I'm the real JCW champion, and then I'll book all these other, I'll team with a promoter and we'll book all these JCW top guys, and I'll go over on all of them just to piss off Violent J. So that's how that started out. But then it evolved into something way 10 times doper.
Are you still working on that project, or?
Yeah, I actually, my next title defense is against Dan the Beast Severn in a steel cage match. It's a rematch.
What?
Yeah, I had a match with Dan the Beast Severn a couple years ago. It was the last match he ever worked, where it was for the title, and then I turned heel and I hit him with brass knuckles and knocked him out. And I put him in a chokehold, and then his arm dropped 3 times, and I won. And then I cut a really crazy heel promo. Like if it were in front of an arena of 20,000 people, would have been like some Hulk Hogan level, John Cena level heel turn shit. Like
where's that upcoming match going to be at?
It's going to be in Elkhart, Indiana, at the Texas Roadhouse. It's an outdoor show. So every match on the card is a steel cage match.
Do you have a date for that?
It's for the promotion Pro Wrestling King, who I do business with.
Do you have a date for that too?
Yeah, it's on July 12th.
Okay. Yeah, check that out if you guys are near.
Starts at noon.
I was just say check that out if you guys are near Indiana. That's a badass little match there. You and Dan Severn in a cage, like that's
that's
and I'm wild.
I turned back babyface, so it's babyface versus babyface. So
okay.
The angle is, he's pissed off how I, took him out of the business the way I did, and now he's coming back for revenge on me.
That's dope. I'm gonna have to. Will it be on YouTube or recorded or anything like that?
Oh yeah,
we're live streamed. Okay, yeah, I'll have to definitely check that out
for sure. Man.
Also, so I know we spoke a little bit about this before we went live, but the uproar from the controversies we just talked about in the music community has also spilled over into the deathmatch community. I am a member of Deathmatch Elite 2.0 on Facebook. For any of you that are out there that are in this group, you have probably seen it, and it has been a little toxic, a little craziness going on there. It had upwards of 180 comments just on one post, which I think was your promo video that you put out against Violent J. I've seen things that people were saying they were bashing your credibility and validity of your career, like we were talking about earlier in this interview. As far as you being a wrestler, they're saying you weren't shit, you weren't this, you weren't that. We've already talked about that. But it just seems really tribalistic. Some of the comments, because, like I said, they're knocking your career. Some of those things could be solved with a simple Google search. But you had the likes of like Brett Lauderdale, who is the owner of GCW, also decided to throw his 2 cents into the comments. He didn't really have much to say one way or another, but still the fact that he is engaging in this has got some sort of notoriety. We've also had UK deathmatch wrestler Tim Strange, who was dismissing your music video as well and had unkind words for you, telling you to shut up, nerd, was one of his comments that he had on there. So is there any rebuttal for these deathmatch comments and group out there?
It's just they're just marks for themselves and what they do, and they don't know shit about me or what I've done, and they just they're just talking shit because they don't know. That's all it is. They just don't know any better.
Do you think that like you could do business with any of these guys, like a Tim Strange? Obviously he's over in like UK, but like, do you think you guys could potentially work something, or he's not even, this type of stuff's not on your radar to even give it any attention?
I mean, I'll do business with anybody. I don't have to like somebody or somebody like me to do business with them. I'm a professional.
Okay. I seen one of your comments in that group that you said that you like pissing people off. Is that something that's a part of your character?
Yeah, it's called getting heat,
Okay.
You get heat, you attract attention, you get more eyes on your product, more ears on your product. That's, it's just classic pro wrestling heel tactics. And these guys in the business can't see that. Just it says more about them than it does about me.
Yeah. And that's the way I was kind of looking at it. Like I said, I first discovered you. I seen the promo video. Okay. And then I did a little deep dive and I went and found the music video. And then I just started deep diving. I have some friends within the Juggalo community, some performers. But yeah, I was kind of like, putting some feelers out there about you. And I thought that this would be an interesting story, and to be able to have you come on here and tell your side of it, and at least, lay some things to rest that maybe some people won't understand or don't understand, or maybe this might change their perspective on them. But the last thing I'm going to ask you, One Man Kru, is, do you think that if Anthony, yourself, and Joe Violent J were able to sit down at a table and put your differences aside, do you think that you guys would be able to squash the beef potentially?
Of course, man. I'm a professional, man. Like, if he like really like wholeheartedly is like, hey man, I understand that there's a reason that you feel the way you do, and maybe I shouldn't have treated you like a jabroni. Maybe I underestimated your level of talent and your drive and your go-getter attitude, and maybe I shouldn't have talked to you the way I did, or gave you the shitty deal that I gave you. Maybe I should have really utilized you better, and or at least if I was going to sever ties with you, treated you with respect.
Yeah.
Like if he ever talked to me and we had a man-to-man conversation like that, yeah, of course, man. Like I'm an easy guy to get along with. People who know me, like really know me. Mm-hmm. They know that the real me, the Anthony Sanders, not One Man Kru. They know that One Man Kru and Anthony Sanders are two different things, and that the real me is the complete opposite of what I portray myself as One Man Kru. Mm-hmm. So I am very easy to get along with. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in life, especially as men, when when we have differences and we don't see eye to eye, it's easy to just not take your ball and go home, but be like, fuck him, like, whatever. But I'm a firm believer as I get older, especially, and become more mature, that, when you're able to sit down with another man, if you have a difference with him or woman or whatever, and have a conversation and use your words and put out on the table, like I said, what your difference is, what the beef is, get down to the real nitty gritty. A lot of times you're able to kind of either have some closure, walk away from that, or maybe make amends and build a new relationship from that. So not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I'm just saying that maybe that putting that out there, that there is a possibility to squash this beef, make amends, and like I said, either go your own ways or maybe possibly, become friends again or work together again in a professional manner or what have you. I'm not sure, like I said, if that's something you want, but I believe that, like I said, it doesn't do us any good to have bullshit weighing us down when we could probably make more money together. Honestly, at the end of the day, I'm sure you guys could make a lot more money together than separate.
Absolutely. I mean, they don't need me and I don't need them. That's the thing. Like this guy looked at me like, oh, you need me more than we need you. But the thing is I never needed them. I've already been making money by myself independently and making a name for myself before all that. So to put the two together and just be like, hey man, let's work together, let's make some money. And all I want to do is be treated like an equal, because if you put yourself on a pedestal, you're just being a mark for yourself. I understand he's been in the game 10 years longer than me, and he's more established than I am. He's a multi-platinum artist. I understand that. But at the end of the day, we're just human beings and we're just artists and we're all doing the same thing. We're trying to make money doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And so when you big time other people, it's not good. It's not good for business. It's not good for morale. And I really just wanted to be a part of the team because I was fans of them growing up. I considered myself a Juggalo. It was a dream come true for me to work for them. But then when I realized, oh wait, this guy ain't really like he portrays himself either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then I stopped being a mark for it and seeing it for what it is. And I think now that I have those set of eyes, I think it'd be better for me if I ever were in a position to put that behind and work with them again. It'd be better because I wouldn't mark out for them. I wouldn't look at them the same.
You're not going to negate a lot of things that you would probably negate as a fan or as still being an active Juggalo with them. You know what I mean? Because you like kind of like how a lot of that community might be is like you said, they look past a lot of things because they are, fans of them, or like you said, but now you have a different perspective, a different set of eyes to look at things and be like, nah, I'm not going to quite act that way or think this way. I'm going to do it a completely different, so I totally get that.
There's a lot of Juggalos that reach out to me and they're like, dude, I am so glad somebody's finally standing up and has got the balls to speak their mind about this shit. Like there's a flip side. There's a still do it all, man. Like,
and I'm sure there's a lot of them that are probably open to it, but then they're also, I guess, don't want to be too open about it either because for fear that might change their status within the community if they're open for you or whatever, one way or another. I know that's probably a double-edged sword for a lot of them. But I appreciate you for coming on. And like I said, I wanted you to be able to share your story and share your side of things because obviously, like I said, there's always three sides of it. So I think that a lot of the heat and flack that you're catching online, maybe this might change some of their perspectives, might not. You never know. But yeah, let the people know, let the audience know where they can find you at. This is your handle right here, at least for, I know, Instagram. If there's a different one for your other platforms, please let them know. What do you have coming up? Let them know where they can find you.
Just look up One Man Kru, OneMankru, and you'll find me anywhere on all platforms. I'm on everything: Vivo, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, I'm on it. And it's very distinct lettering, the way it's spelled, OneMankru. You can't miss it.
Can't miss it. Also, if you guys, like I said, are in the Indiana area, what town of Indiana did you say it was that match?
Elkhart, Indiana. ELKHAR.
Elkhart, Indiana.
July 12th at Texas Roadhouse. Steel cage match versus Dan Severn for the Lineal World Championship.
That's crazy. If I was closer, my friend, I would definitely make it out there. But yeah, if I see you coming up on any circuits around me, I'm definitely have to come through and check you out, my friend. Because like I said, I'm a big independent guy. I go almost every weekend to Independence, so love to check you out if you're ever near. And like I said, I appreciate you stopping by the bingo hall and blazing it with your boy Young Lurch.
My pleasure.
One Man Kru. We are out.
Appreciate you, man.